before DogeCoin, I was working a 9 to 5. I was busting my ass. I was, working a lot, just for chump change, just, for a little bit of money here and there. But now kind of, I'll put it this way. The end goal was always, okay, once the audience was getting created, once the I started getting a following, the end goal was, how do I make a career out of this?
I'm Patrick J. McGinnis, and I coined the term FOMO. That's short for fear of missing out, and it's why some people end up following the crowd when they should be blazing a trail of their own. But if you want to achieve greatness in business and life, you've got to break free. Come on, I'll show you how. This is FOMO Sapiens, where we explore how entrepreneurial thinkers find the inspiration and the courage to build exceptional lives. Welcome to FOMO Sapiens, the show for entrepreneurial thinkers. I'm your host, Patrick J. McGinnis, and today we are continuing our conversation with the star and the director of the movie This Is Not Financial Advice. Now, if you haven't listened to last week, it's a good one. Go back and listen to it because we talked to Glauber Pro Cartesoto and Chris Temple. They are the star and the director of This Is Not Financial Advice, a story about people who got caught up in the craziness of speculation, the Reddit, the GameStop, Wall Street bets, all that sort of stuff, and what happened and why they did it and how it all played out. Now, last week we talked a lot about the why. What is the background story, how Pro got into the world of DogeCoin. And he's a super charismatic interview, so you'll see, he really tells the story in a compelling way from a place of real honesty, which I super appreciate. And Chris explained sort of the overall trends that he was seeing that compelled him to make this movie. Now we are moving on to the why. Why does it matter? And I think that's really important because if you don't learn from this stuff, and by the way, I don't think we've learned all that much for what it's worth. If you don't learn anything, why do it? And so we're going to get into that today on the show. So I want to jump right in to that interview. Now, we are picking up with Chris talking about where we left off, which is really like, why did this happen? And that transitions us into the why does it matter and what have we learned? All right, enjoy. FOMO. So Chris, we ended last week's episode talking about the fact that why Pro, didn't do the traditional route. He wasn't able to. He's not documented in the United States, couldn't get a traditional job and work his way up. He had to find a different way around. And that's really one of the themes of the film for me, is that you have a system that is not serving everybody. And then there's an insurgent movement that's fueled by the internet and investment products that are new that people can access really easily and, a low friction that people are using to find another way to try to jump up. That is a big theme of this movie. Why don't you talk about that, what you saw and what you were trying to tell about in this film?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you really nailed it with the comparison of when there isn't a ladder, people look for trampolines. And, Pro was one of hundreds of different people we interviewed through the process of this film as we were doing research. And generally across the board, we've been seeing a very real and justifiable frustration with wealth inequality in this country, with access to opportunities. You've got some stats like 90% of all stocks are owned by 10% of Americans. You've got a lot of wage stagnation and income stagnation in this country, while wealth has continued to accrue for the top 1%. I understand this frustration. And when it feels like there aren't opportunities to move up through the middle class, why not take a larger financial risk? And, Morgan Housel talks in the film in an interview. He's the author of The Psychology of Money. He talks in the film about how it's often those with the least that take these biggest financial risks, and compares the example of the lottery system in the US here, where the people who are predominantly buying lottery tickets are those who have a very small amount of money, but are looking for a way out. And that actually sadly ends up kind of being a tax on the poor, and a tax on those who really need the most support. And I do think, as crypto has continued to go through its cyclical waves of highs and lows, oftentimes the people who have gotten hurt the most in the cycles where crypto really crashes are those who can't afford to lose the money that they have. And I think that's been something that, we've been talking about a lot through the film. And I hope that the film has an interesting conversation around is how do you, deal with this double-edged sword of the democratization of money. And what I mean by that is it's amazing when you open up access to hundreds of millions of new people to get onboarded into the investor class, to be able to invest in stocks, invest in crypto at the click of the button on their phone. But on the other hand of that, if we don't keep up with financial education, if we don't put in some guardrails around consumer protections, people, including myself, end up making a lot of mistakes that can really hurt them. And hopefully we can do better in the future.
Yeah, it reminds me, I mean, when you were just speaking, I was thinking about Instagram, because you see like the filter of, it's like Instagram versus reality. And when it comes to a lot of this stuff, Wall Street bets, like nobody really, I mean, you don't know. You don't have like, maybe some people post their statements, I'm not sure, but a lot of people are talking SHI, about what's going on. And what was interesting about you, Pro, is that you are very transparent. I mean, you became, as you wrote up DogeCoin, you built a media career around this, where you were speaking directly to the community, and you were sharing what was going on, and you were transparent about it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it was, as I watched the film, you're writing up, it's getting to be life-changing money for anybody, not just you, but like literally most people would be like, wow, I'll sell out. And you had characters in the film, your friends, your family, who really wanted you to sell, and you did not. You were like, no, I am all in. Talk about where your head was at that time.
I feel like I had a greater mission, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was rooted in reality or not at the time, but I felt like I had it was like a greater mission, a bigger reason to kind of keep this going. It seemed like a very monumental time in history, where it seemed like the money was shifting. It was a moment in time where the traditional ways of making money, keeping money, rich keep getting richer, poor keep getting poorer, was changing. For the first time ever, it seemed like we were finally getting one little piece of an edge, right? And it just, like the cause, like it just, everything just seemed so much bigger than me, so much bigger than this, these $3 million. It just seemed bigger than that. It's like, what? Are you going to run away now? You know what I mean? Are you going to pick up your money and literally disappear now? At the most crucial moment in time where your voice matters. My voice mattered at the time. My mission mattered at the time. Kind of playing a role in this bigger stage mattered at the time. And so I feel like it was just so much greater than my personal gain. It was so much greater than my personal increase in money in my bank. You know what I mean? It just seemed like it meant more to show people that this can be the future. Show people that things can really change, and we can really find a way to break out of this cycle that we've been stuck in for so long. That's what it meant to me. And that's why I held on.
What if, let me do like a counterfactual and say, same series of events, you invest in Dogecoin, but no film crew, no social media, no community around it, just you in your apartment all alone. Do you think you would have felt the same way? Because then the mission part is gone. Like, how might it have been played out?
I think I would have sold. If it doesn't matter, nobody's looking. No, it doesn't matter. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares whether I have $1 million in the bank or I don't. Having eyes on me, having the pressure on me, felt the need to play this noble role. You know what I mean? Yeah. And keep my promises and tell people I believe in this and this is going to be the future. And it's so hard for you to tell people I believe in this and this is going to be the future, but I don't believe in it enough to keep my money in it. Let me take my money. But this is the future though. But let me be rich over here.
And just for context, I mean, you'll see this in the film, but Pro, you were thrust into the limelight. I mean, you're on the front page of the New York Times, you're on the Daily, you're on CNN, you're on CNBC, you're getting hundreds of messages a day from people talking about your life, weighing in on you, criticizing you, congratulating you. I mean, immediately just thrown under this microscope that social media puts people under. And I could, throughout the film, you're really wrestling with that role over the last couple of years of what your responsibility is to that audience. And it was, I think it's very interesting to hear you say that if it wasn't for all the attention, maybe things would have played out differently, because I do think as much as this film is about money, it's about technology, and it's about the role that social media has played in amplifying this collective sense of FOMO, in the rise of new financial influencers and others who are encouraging and educating people online on TikTok and YouTube. There's a recent stat that 79% of young people, their primary source of financial education is TikTok and YouTube. That's where people are going for information, and that's elevating and putting even more pressure on someone like you, Pro, that people are now really doing and trusting you to tell them what to do with their money.
I also wanted to feel like I was doing right by everyone too. Like having this limelight on me got a chance to show people who I was as a person, to show people my character, to show people that integrity matters, to show people that when you say you're going to do something, it means so much more that you do it no matter what the consequences are. It just seemed like the right thing to do, and I wanted to do right by everyone.
FOMO. Well, it's one of the things that struck me when I saw the film was the pressure you were under. Number one, because these cryptocurrencies trade around the clock. So it's not like a conventional market. Like 5 o'clock, you can go chill out. Like you can check it at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's always doing something. It doesn't stop. The pressure's always there. Number two is there's I think my favorite scene in the film, which I think just captures 2022 or whatever year it was so well, which is when Elon Musk went on Saturday Night Live. And we have, Pro is watching the show and I think doing a live stream for your many followers, because it's the big night for Doge, and Elon's going to come out and whatever he does, it's going to send it to the moon or whatever the heck was the thing. And I remember my brother was really even into this at this point. He was texting me about it.
Yeah, my mom was watching at the price of Dogecoin.
Oh my, it was insane. And then, that doesn't go well and it starts to crash, and we see that live. And then people start turning on you. Like, people love nothing more than a little blood in the water. You know what I mean? Everybody loves to come at you when you're down. When that happened, and you go from the, just up and to the right, and then all of a sudden you're coming down the other side. What was that like for you?
Well, it's so funny how it seemed like the entire thing went from a random investment to a moral issue. It became like a moral thing. Okay, do I do right by these people that follow me and listen to what I say and care about me as a person, my well-being? I thought, or do I just do whatever the hell I want and I don't care about you guys? You know what I'm saying? It was. And it was like no one had ever experienced anything like that. It's almost like you're in new waters, right? This is unprecedented times. We don't know where this could potentially go. We've never been down this road before, so who knows what can happen, right? And I feel like yeah, it was one of those things where, like I said, it became a moral issue, and I ultimately I wanted to make sure that I was mentally okay and I could go to sleep at night with whatever decision it was that I chose to do. So that's why ultimately I didn't know. So what do? I follow what is in my heart. This is how I feel I should do and what I should do. And I can go to sleep at night with this decision that I made that could benefit a ton of people, even if I'm the one that's caught in the rain, right? Like even if I'm the one that gets the short end of the stick, at least all these other people are okay. It's weird, man. It's
the first time I could think of that an investment product became ideological, if you think about it.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I could, watch it in real time and just see how emotional and visceral money is, right? And I think that's, again, like why I think this film is really about the psychology of money is that, when you're in it and you don't know when to sell, you don't know when to buy, you're tying your self-worth to what you're doing with your money, you're comparing yourself to others, you're thinking about the values and the moral decision you're making around money. I mean, all of these things are factors that everybody is thinking about on a day-to-day basis that they do with their money. And, while Pro's case might be more extreme than what some of your listeners might be willing to do with their money, and DogeCoin is an extreme case, I think the lessons really, really still apply. And I know I've learned a lot through the process of making this.
Nobody else seems to have, though, because they're all just doing the same thing with AI. But, it's like, there's always a new one. Like, we should start an AI coin like tomorrow, and then we could use yours. We could, oh, God, I'm always the last one. So let's talk about.
Jump in. It's never too late, right? No,
yeah, exactly. Until it is. So, Pro, you never sold, and then Doge went from I don't think did it hit a buck in the end, like $1.08 or something. Okay, never hit it all, but it went way up. You rode your investment, up to about $3 million, and then it went down, and you never sold, and so your current holdings are worth
of Dogecoin.
Yeah.
Well, I've also purchased more.
Oh,
so the amount that I have isn't. Yeah, I continue to buy more and more and more and more. So ultimately, around that time, I had roughly 3 million Dogecoin.
Yeah.
And now since I've continued buying over the past 2 years, I've accumulated. I'm at 5 million now, Dogecoin. So what's that worth right now? What's the price of Dogecoin right now? A little over 400,000.
And what's crazy is, that's still double your initial investment.
Yeah.
I mean, do you ever think now about just pulling it out, or you're trying to wait for the next ride up? You saw what it felt like to have 3 million, and you want to get back there.
At this point, I feel like it means more to the world if I just continue to hold it, or to anyone who's ever watched my journey.
So what's interesting about this, and what you see in the film, is that you have folks that, even if they didn't make the money on the investment, they became influencers.
Yeah.
And you now, you have become, well known. You have deals with different companies. Like, how did this experience, as we come forward now? Yeah. Okay. So the money ran up, the money ran down. You didn't sell. Obviously, you're doing other things. You're investing. This is who you are as a person. But talk about who you are today. Where is Pro today?
I feel like I'm in a much better place than I was 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like before Dogecoin, I was working a 9 to 5. I was busting my ass. I was, working a lot, just for chump change, just, for a little bit of money here and there. But now kind of, I'll put it this way. The end goal was always, okay, once the audience was getting created, once the I started getting a following, the end goal was, how do I make a career out of this? How can I generate money by being in this position, right? Because I didn't know where Dogecoin was going to go. I can't see the future of Dogecoin. No matter what I believe, I don't know what ultimately can happen. So I can't control that, right? What I can control is how I play my cards moving in the future, so I can make a living from being either this Dogecoin millionaire guy, or just being in crypto in general, or having a bunch of followers, or being this influencer, right? How can I can control that? I can control how hard I work. I can control how much I engage with these people. I can control how I continue to gain a following over the years. So I can control how I make this a business. I can't control the price of Dogecoin. And so I feel like that kind of ultimately became the end goal once I started getting a following.
FOMO. FOMO. Chris, where do you think we are today? You know, it feels like, we were just joking about AI. I mean, it's different because, but there was, after Doge, there were NFTs, or I guess maybe around the same time. I can't even keep it. It was all happening. And then the market retracted. But, you know, like Bitcoin's back up. I mean, and Bitcoin is different, of course, you know, but it's, again, there's a lot of people who believe in it, some who don't. And so, but like, it feels like the root cause of what we're seeing here, whether you think it's good or bad, the drivers of this, which are income inequality, which are lack of faith in institutions, which is technology, which is the sort of gamification of investment products, like all this stuff, it's only becoming more entrenched and stronger. So, you know, Chris, I say you're going to win the Oscar for this film. You should. And then they tell you, we want you to make This Is Not Financial Advice 2. What is that film about?
I think the same thing happens again. I think it's a different product. I think the cycles continue, and I, as part of why we wanted this film to cover multiple years of time, because you have to see the cyclical nature of these markets and understand, as you just said, the core factors and systemically of why this speculation has been happening, or they're all still there. And, you know, I don't judge Pro at all for the decisions he made. I don't judge any of the characters in the film. Again, I got really caught up into making certain riskier financial decisions on crypto than I probably should have. And, you know, we'll have to see from here, how much did I and the rest of the world learn from their first journey in foray into markets. But I do have fear that all we have for 2024 and as we move forward is all of the same ingredients. As interest rates start to lower and momentum starts to build back up, that you'll see very similar speculative behavior. Except this time around, you've got, you know, 4 out of 10 Americans now have traded crypto. You know, the accounts are already created. It's very easy to move quickly. My mom texted me about how her Ethereum price was back up a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Like, why are you watching your Ethereum price?" And you know, and so it's the old adage that, you know, when the your shoe shine boy starts telling you about stock picks, then like it's a bubble again. And I think we'll always see bubbles, whether it's crypto or AI or whatever it is. And I just hope that seeing the full spectrum of this film and Pro's experience will help people understand and just take that pause for a second of, oh, maybe this is short term. And like, do I need to get rich tomorrow? Or actually, could I look at how to generate wealth longer term? Do I want to be really emotionally attached to my investment? And is this a little too fun, or maybe should it be a bit more boring?
Or do I want to diversify? I mean, I think, you know, I think about friends of mine who owned a little bit of Doge or sort of fun cryptocurrencies that were like, that had emotional components to them, and they loved it, but they weren't all in. I mean, that is a specific move, right? And
yeah.
So as I watch this stuff,
no, like I haven't sold my crypto.
Yeah, it stresses me out because I don't want to watch everybody make money but me. That's why I hate going to casinos. And so it's like, you know, it's like put a percentage into the stuff that is higher risk so that you feel the upside, so you don't feel left out. I'm coining a term right here for you guys. Ready? New term. I've been thinking about it, but I'm going to put it out here today. Enlightened FOMO. It's like, I recognize my FOMO is getting me to do this, but I'm going to do it in a way that like feels okay and is risk mitigated. Enlightened FOMO.
Yeah. Enlightened FOMO. Boom. I mean, I feel like that's what I'm trying to do right now. I have a small amount of my money in crypto because I have a lot of fun with it, and I want to be a part of the community, and I like the feeling when it goes up.
Yeah, I get it. Now we're gonna move on now to lightning round because, you know, I want to hear what you guys have to say. So we have 4 questions here. I'm gonna each time I'm gonna have Pro go first, then we're gonna have Chris answer second. Quick answers, right at the top of your head. You ready to go? All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Lightning round.
Yeah.
Number 1. What is a favorite quote?
Scared money don't make no money.
Scared money don't make no money. Love that, Chris.
don't give in to FOMO.
Oh, wow. I'm going to charge you for that one. Number 2.
My favorite author, Patrick McGinnis.
Name a book or podcast every FOMO sapien should know about.
The Daily.
The Daily.
I would say the Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, a book that, really changed the way I thought about money and comparing myself to others.
It's an excellent book. It's so true. Number 3. This is the question you've been waiting for, bro. What's a piece of advice you give to your younger self?
Buy Bitcoin.
Buy Bitcoin.
In 2010.
Oh, that's good. Chris?
Just do what you love and don't stress so much.
Number 4, and the final one. What's your most important memory?
Becoming a millionaire overnight.
Pretty good one. Chris?
Yeah. My future memory I want is when I become a millionaire. No, I think for me, some of the best moments are when you finish these films and you've captured a story that you hope will live on forever. And, that's the beauty of art, right? You create something that is, hopefully affects millions of people. And I hope a lot of people will go watch this movie on Apple and Amazon and share it with their friends, gift it to people who are interested in money or want to learn about this space. And, that's really, it's so rewarding to make something.
Chris, your dog is really trying to be the star of the
my
show.
Shiba
now.
Inu dog in the background.
No, I'll tell you, I'm going to share, I don't usually do this, but I will share my 2 favorite memories that have to do with this film. The first is, so I was out in California and I filmed one day with Chris and the team, and it was super fun and interesting. And then he sent me a trailer, a screener, and I watched it. And I had been that night at an event, and I met this woman who's a Bloomberg reporter, Bloomberg TV, Caroline Hyde. So I'm watching the movie, and right in there, Caroline is in the movie interviewing Kayla Kilbride, who's another character in the film. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I met this woman 15 minutes ago, and now she's in the, and so I took a screenshot and texted her and was like, you're in this movie. Did you, so that was insane. She was so happy. That was like, that just felt like I was like, this is meant to be. Like, this is weird. It's got some like, there's something supernatural happening here. The second, this is the terrible one, is that Chris and Zach, who they made this movie together, they sent me a new updated version of the film. They were like, we want you to see the film, see what you think of the new draft. So I was at the Apple store, and I was getting my phone fixed. I had my computer, and I'm watching the screener while I'm waiting, and I'm of course I'm trying to find me. And so I can't find myself. And I'm like trying again. I get home and I realize I've been cut out. So I text Chris. I'm like, hey, I think, I'm not in this version. He said, yeah, we made some changes. Sorry, we had to cut. We may put you back. We don't know. And I was like, that's such a bummer, because I was so excited because the film is so exciting. And I was like, oh man, like don't give me FOMO. Like, this is not nice to do to me. And so I woke up in the middle of the night and I emailed the two of them and I was like, I think the movie's great, but I won't be able to watch it because I have too much FOMO if I see it. And then I realized I'm a lunatic. So Chris, thank you for putting me back in. Also not having somebody, come after and, put some sort of like restraining order on me.
I mean, it's one of the hardest parts of the film is, so many people shared their stories, their expertise, their time with us to make this film possible. I mean, there's hundreds of people who worked on it, hundreds of people who talked to me, and it's so brutal because it's just a 90-minute film and I can't include everything. And it's one of the worst parts of being a filmmaker. But we did about 60 to 70 versions of this film, I'd say, and I was really happy you got a starring role in the final, and just so appreciative of all the perspective you gave us for the film.
Was that because I threatened you? Is that why?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I was like, is that why you put it back in?
I'm just terrified of this guy, so I had to do it. Yeah.
All right. So the film is called This Is Not Financial Advice. You can get it now on Apple. Go pick it up. It is out and other places. If you want to find out more, go to on Instagram and other socials. You can find Tinfa Film, made by Optimus. So you can find at Optimus. If you want to learn more about Pro, you can find him at Pro the Doge. If you want to find out more about Chris, you can find him at Chris Temple. Pro Contesoto and Chris Temple, star and director of This Is Not Financial Advice. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks. Yeah, this was super fun. Thanks, Patrick.
FOMO. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me on Instagram at Patrick J. McGinnis, on Twitter at PJ McGinnis, and on the web at FOMOSapiens.com or PatrickMcGinnis.com, where you can get all kinds of free resources to live a more decisive and entrepreneurial life. FOMO Sapiens is recorded in New York City. Theme music is by Mike McGinnis, and editing and post-production is by Josh Elstro. If you like today's show, please be sure to rate it and recommend it to your friends. And as always, you can find me at FOMOSapiens.com and at PatrickMcGinnis.com. To advertise on FOMO Sapiens, reach out to contact@FOMOSapiens.com.